Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms, and these are Charter Moms Chats, where we've been sharing information about what families need to know to keep their kids learning in spite of all the disruption of the pandemic or sort of new opportunities that are arising. And so we've been having guests from some of the amazing charter schools across San Antonio, and some of them are about like back to school or like getting ready for the next school year. But today's topic is about summer. Yay! It's almost summer. We're going to be talking about the Anne Frank Aspire Academy. Figures I'd garble it. Anne Frank Inspire Academy Summer Experience. There we go. Okay. Right. So our guest today, we have Justin Johnston, and he is the head of school at Anne Frank Inspire Academy, and he's a repeat guest. I think this is probably his third chat or something.
Third or somewhere around there.
Yeah, and then we have a new guest. Jeffery Moss is the counselor at Anne Frank Inspire Academy. So, and he joined during the pandemic, so I have not had a chance to meet him yet. But I look forward in person. But I look forward to coming on campus one of these days. I can meet Jeffery face to face. So, but welcome. So we have the head of school and the counselor from Anne Frank Inspire Academy, and they're going to talk about the summer experience. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We always love being able to talk to you, Inga. Appreciate everything that y'all do.
Thank you. Okay, so I want to mention that so these guys wrote a guest post, and it's new on the blog today, and there's a link to it in the description of the video. So if you haven't read the blog post yet, I encourage you. It's got practical information about the camp and links to get registered and things like that. So but they're here to kind of like add the color commentary about what's awesome about this camp. I'm really excited. This sounds great. So okay, so there's a quote at the beginning. It's an Albert Einstein quote. It says, "Learning is experience. Everything else is just information." So I was wondering if you could tell us more about that quote. Like, it seems very in keeping with the culture at the school. So just tell us more about the quote.
So this may be the only question I can answer. So I'll jump out there, and then I'm going to let Jeffrey answer a majority of the other ones. But no, that quote sums up everything that we believe in, right? It's about the experience. And so if you're anybody can read a book, anybody can sit down and regurgitate information, but it's about what are you going to do with that? How are you going to actually live it? And so, we've been really blessed to have Jeffery Moss join our family over the pandemic, and just got finished having an amazing senior day the day that he put together, that he designed, and a lot of our students were able to actually get back in the building for the first time and connect. And that's what we're looking for this summer. We're looking for ability to create an experience for students to where the learning learning's not secondary, but the learning is from the experience, right? And the experience drives that piece. And then we want to later integrate that more into what we do as we are able to get back on campus. So again, extremely excited to have Jeffery be able to explain the summer experience. And ultimately those experiences are designed where students are going to belong, find joy, and be great, which are our three imperatives here at Anne Frank.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. Yeah. That's a great job of connecting up the quote.
I'm done.
And Frank culture. Okay.
From here on out.
And let me just add, Mr. Johnston gives me way too much credit. He had a lot to do with senior day today, so it was a great tag team.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds really fun. So, well, I'll go check the social media. You'll have some pictures up from.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, good. Okay, I'll go check that out. Yeah, I can live vicariously through the senior time. So, okay, well, Jeffery, I want to, I guess, oh yeah, so like in the blog post, like we'll have there's this cool flyer that's got some details and like sort of some, a sneak peek at the summer experience. I was wondering if you could tell us like, what are some of the things about summer learning that are unique and that are like different from like the sort of school year experience at Anne Frank?
Well, and I think it's important directionally to understand that the experience is leading us on a path of really being able to create a stronger culture and be able to really just give back, right? So this is not just open to Anne Frank students, but really opening to our front yard, which is San Antonio, and really doing learning differently. Me personally, just where I'm coming from theoretically is a place of just as Mr. Johnston alluded to, in order to teach the student, you've got to reach their heart. And this experience is all about how do we begin to intervene where we can reach students' hearts. Students have just been in over a year in quarantine, seeing the same people every day, going through a routine that exists from their bed to probably their kitchen and the bathroom and back to the bed again. And so it's how do we re-engage students around self-awareness again, right? Being aware of how I operate with others, social awareness. How does that lead into me building those relationship skills again, right? A lot of these, especially our incoming ninth graders and those transition points, incoming sixth graders and incoming kindergartners of, these are new people, new experiences. How do I interact, and ultimately, how do we help students make responsible decisions? And so a lot of that it doesn't live in content. It lives in how we connect. How are we teaching them to connect more explicitly? And I know you've got questions that, there's a little more specific I can get into later, but, we've built it to where there's a student-led advisory component. There's a lot of research just behind students connecting with students, peers connecting with peers. There's a color wars component that's very exciting. So building larger communities of folks around different activities. We've got the trips, which is an exciting component for us to get out and just have a little bit of fun. There's an adventure course is one of our first trips where students, not only will have fun, but can solve puzzles together. So it's just giving them opportunities to re-engage and, correcting where it needs to be corrected, but ultimately just allowing them to explore self and others again.
I think there was something. Oh, Justin, you want to jump in?
Yeah, just one quick thing is that it's not school, right? And so we already are not your traditional setting, right? But I want to be clear to families, this is not a school experience. We're starting it off intentionally with a trip out to an adventure course because we believe that experience alone is going to drive a majority of our learning. And then when you get into our community building activities that we're going to have throughout the summer, it's only going to strengthen that piece.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Jeffrey, there was something you said that jumped out at me, and that is about you want students to be able to make good decisions. And I think you might have used the word responsible decisions. I can't remember exactly how you phrased it, but I think that is a really key thing about what you said. And it also relates to, I think, the culture at Anne Frank and why what Anne Frank is doing is so important. And I hope even families who don't have their students there, or maybe haven't heard of this, and they're like, why is she so excited about this? But this is a really big deal, because I feel like it's a deficiency in our culture as far as how parenting happens these days and how schooling has been happening, where students have been just taught to follow directions, execute the algorithm, comply, sit where you're supposed to sit, walk down the hallway a certain way. It doesn't prepare you for life. Absolutely. And it doesn't prepare you for college, when, or your first job, when the guardrails get taken off, right? Yeah. When the training wheels are gone, right? So
test.
Teaching them that, they have to develop a sense of balance, and they might fall along the way. But so I was wondering if you could elaborate on that. I think that's a really key point. And I want to hear about how that comes through in the summer experience.
Well, and I think a large component is developing a growth mindset. I think far too often we say, hey, we want to mature our kiddos, but then we don't give them responsibilities. We don't give them opportunities to fail. And then how do we frame failure? Do we allow students the opportunity to give it a shot and award them based on the effort as opposed to the result? So a lot of what we will focus on just internally will be about this growth mindset, risk taking, no quit zone. Really allowing students and cheering students on for just taking that risk. And a lot of the responsible part will come in where, the adults can guide and direct and lead through our inquiry process. For example, students will have an inquiry section where they're going to come in with a question, something that's urgent to them. and take it from a thought to a finished product they'll present on the last day of the experience. And so even that in and of itself allows students the opportunity to take something that's important to them and be guided through that from someone who will facilitate the process with them, but not dictate what they need to do. So that will allow them the opportunity to explore their own inner thinking, their own, experiences.
Yeah, Inga, I think we're going to get I'm sorry. I think we're going to get a shirt that says "We don't catch bubbles" at Anne Frank, right? So I know some parents won't know what that is, but there's a lot of times where in elementary they tell kids, you need to catch a bubble, which means they want them to be quiet in the hallway. It's always been real interesting to me in education. My brother has 5 kids. I've never seen my brother line his kids up and make them walk in a straight line as they go into a restaurant or as they go into a mall, right? But all of a sudden, as educators, we lose the belief in other people's kids to be able to manage themselves regardless of what the age is, right? And so that's one of the things that Jeffrey's really been working on and really built into our program, the summer experience at Anne Frank, is how do you trust others? How do you trust each other to pull your own weight and to be a part of a real community, which is what we're creating here.
Yeah, and there was something that I think both of you have been talking. So I've been reflecting on what I've been experiencing a level of grief about the things that I thought the 2020 would be for our family, and then things I kept erasing off the calendar, right? So just as an example, my son is old enough that he can go to our neighborhood pool by himself, and but we chose not to go to the pool because last summer we just didn't know enough about the pandemic. In hindsight, I think we would have been fine, but because it's outdoors. But at the time we feel like we didn't have enough data. It's okay, we're not going to the neighborhood pool. Instead, we went to swimming holes. We had a lot of fun going to swimming holes, but I wanted him to have the experience of going by himself and buying his own snack, and he's got the the key around his neck, and maybe he's got a cell phone in a dry bag, or those, and instead I felt like I had to keep him close to home, and that's not what I wanted that year to be like. And I worry that what I communicated to him was that I don't trust him, and I worry that he missed opportunities to what if he lost his key, or what if he broke his cell phone? Okay, look, it's not the end of the world, right? It's not human life, right? Okay, well, be more responsible, don't, or what if you buy your ice cream and then the ice cream cone falls down, it sucks, but it's being able to make mistakes like that, that you learn from, or oh wait, I got lost in my neighborhood. Well, I'm not that far. I bet I can ask a neighbor and they'll get me home. I wanted him to be able to make those little mistakes so that by the time he goes to college or by the time he goes to his first job, it's not that big a deal, right? So what I appreciate about how you're designing this, and Jeffrey mentioned the adventure course and these field trips that they get to do, the students are challenging themselves. And then I think y'all mentioned color wars or student-led advisory. So it's a way to they're going to have to come out of their shell and talk to each other, and they might feel awkward. They might have forgotten how to make small talk, or and they might accidentally hurt someone's feelings, or they might come across as a know-it-all, or they might forget how to listen, and have that shared that back and forth of conversation. But maybe this will be a chance where they can get the rust off, and get practicing again.
And I'll add, in a low pressure environment, right? So students aren't working towards grades. There's nothing going on a transcript. I can just be and allow myself to explore that. Similarly to what you were saying, a very quick anecdote. When my mom was teaching me to drive, and of course, this was the time we didn't have cell phones with GPS, and GPS wasn't in the car. We had MapQuest at best. She taught me by forcing me to be aware of landmarks. And so the way I learned to drive, right, and the same thing, you get lost, well, look for the landmark. And I think I carry that message through my professional life, right? So you ask about how do we teach that responsible decision making? We're going to give you the parameters, right? This is what we would suggest as facilitators that would help you on the journey, but you got to take the journey. And it's very, very important to us, that journey work.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think this is so important as like an on ramp to, like, the world is reopening, but there's I really want to say deficits, but like there's just things that got put on hold, right? And there's habits that and skills that kids didn't get to practice, and this gets them back into it, but it's not actually school.
Yeah,
So
and I think it goes back to that quote that we started with, right? That begins our blog. Your son knows where you live. Your son knows how to buy something. Your son knows how to go someplace by himself. He's just never gotten to experience it, right? And so when you do look at what's happened over the last year and a half now, right? It's about experiences, and we're fixing to have a group of first graders that didn't have the experience of sharing toys or sharing building blocks or sharing markers, right? And so we've got to go back and that's one of the beautiful things I love about our summer experiences. It's going to be K-12, and our kids are going to be interacting. And one of the reasons that that's by intentional design is we have to share our experiences with others, right? And so we don't only learn from our experience, but we learn through shared experiences. And Jeffrey's done a great job of building a program that's going to be able to do that K-12.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's see. I have. I'm looking at my notes. So I had some. I had kind of a specific question that. So a guest post that we ran in the past was about inquiry-based learning at Anne Frank, and I recommend folks to look up. There's a link to it in the bottom of the post because I think it's something that families could apply, like in sort of homeschooling this summer. But it's sort of one of the key things about how the Anne Frank works. And I was wondering if you could talk more about how like inquiry-based learning will kind of work into the summer experience. I know y'all mentioned that it's part of it, but I was wondering if you could maybe give an example of how that would work.
Yeah, so if you go back and you read that post, that first thing that jumps off is the activation side of it, right? And so it's about activating that urgency that's there. And so kids are going to show up with an agency. So they're going to show up with something that they believe in to be true. So it may be an equity issue. It may be truth. It may be sharing, right? But there's something that they believe in, helping others. And then we want to create opportunities for them to be able to activate that agency into urgent situations. It's funny, that word urgency has a new meaning now, right? And it's almost like right now we want to say not everything is urgent, right? So it's okay if these are fun ideas. It's okay if these are creative ideas. They don't have to be world-saving ideas. Not everything has to be about saving the world, right? It can just be like, you know what? My house got hit with hail this past week. I'm kind of curious, how does hail slow down enough to where it just doesn't leave a big old crater, right? Like it's coming from a high speed, right? So it can be something that's just kind of happened. And then I want to explore it. I want to know some more about it. And so that's what the inquiry process is about. We don't want you doing it at home. We want you to come join our summer experience, right? Come better together, right? But but you're right. What we're trying to do is teach kids how to learn no matter what situation they're in, no matter where they are. And then ultimately, we're starting the process right now. And I'm going to let Jeffrey kind of piggyback off of this, but we're starting the process right now to where kids can choose to find joy no matter what the experience is, right? And so there's learning inside of struggles. And I think we need to realize that there's joy inside of struggles. And I told the seniors today, I'm going to talk about it at graduation, but you know what? There's a lot of joy that's happened over the last year. And while we've lost a lot, we've also gained a lot. And hopefully we're going to come back with better connected families. We're going to come back with people that are leaning in on each other. And then they're going to have shared experiences that they can share throughout. But Jeffrey, you want to talk about how we're building the inquiry into the experience?
Sure. And I know this alludes to a question you'll probably ask later about the flow of the day, but we have in our elementary space, students will in the morning time do their inquiry explorations. The middle and high school will do theirs in the afternoon. And again, it's just a block of time. We'll start off very simple. They'll be in a room, a small group. They're trying to keep the group small. One facilitator. And the facilitator will be there to do just that, to facilitate the conversation, generate the questions, to get them started and thinking about what is that activation, what is that thing of urgency for me. And they will guide them through a 5-step process. So once I have that, we're going to start now researching it. We're going to start asking questions. We're going to start trying to figure out, how do I get to the end result? Much like scientific thinking, we'll start with the hypothesis and we'll research. We'll go through that process of experimenting. And the idea at the end of that is they should have something which they will present to the community at the student-led symposium as we celebrate what we've done during the year. The inquiry section will happen on a daily basis, and then we'll break up classes so they have an option of taking multiple classes throughout the experience.
Yeah, wow, that sounds really fun. I think that the fact that I think like one of the key things I've noticed about Anne Frank is that like you're always asking students like, well, what are you interested in? What question do you want to know more about? And I think in terms of helping students find motivation, that's something I hear from parents is like they're worried that their kids have lost motivation, that their worlds have been shrunken so much that like they don't even they're not connecting with people or with problems, or like they just don't have a sense of the world anymore. And I think that like inquiry-based learning is a great way to address that motivation piece by asking kids, what do you care about? And part of it too is like, like reminding them of like, that the world is still out there, and like helping them re-enter the world and have some experiences, sort of, add content, kind of prime the pump so that they have like it stimulates like the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I would love to challenge anybody that watches this is, let's change the way we talk about it, right? Let's change the way that we're delivering it, because kids take on our personalities. And so if we're constantly talking about what we can't learn or what we haven't been able to do, then it's going to continue to grow along those lines. And so I just challenge everybody to start now and saying, hey, you know what? What are we learning from this? Where are we? And so however we treat the situation is how kids are. So you're talking about priming, right? And again, it's about activation, being constantly activating what our kids are curious in. Here's what I know for a fact. We're naturally curious human beings. Doesn't matter who you are. We're naturally curious. So if kids start to lose that curiosity, motivation, then we have to look, what are we doing? And so what you're talking about is something that we struggle with. We've struggled with on a daily basis this year, of how do we constantly get kids to re-engage with us or stay motivated with us. And a large time, it's really, what are we presenting to them? If we present something they're interested in, about something they care about, they're going to get motivated, and they're going to, if I walk up to a third grader and start talking about a dog, they're coming with me, guys. They're going to be excited to talk about that dog, right? If I'm constantly talking about a test or a disease, they're going to check out because they don't really care. And so it's just about staying in that mode of activation.
Yeah,
I'll add a quick anecdote on that point. We had an incredible interaction between a couple of our facilitators and a student who were struggling to get engaged. And they approached the student about anime, and the student lit up, and the facilitators adapted their courses around the anime and just completely reactivated and re-engaged that student in learning.
Wow, that's a great story. And to echo what Justin said, of it's important to reframe in terms of what we can do and what things we have learned. I guess like, so I can see for my kids, like distance learning had its disadvantages, but they both learned time management in ways that they hadn't before, a sense of like how to structure their day. Like, like if you get this part done now, then you'll have more time later to do the thing that you're passionate about, right? And like Justin talked about activation. So like the thing my daughter's really excited about right now is origami. So, so she's really motivated to get her homework done, so she has more time to learn new origami shapes. So there you go. And it may not change the world, but it's something beautiful. And she wants to go have a booth at a craft fair, and she wants to learn about business and learn about geometry. Oh, and we have some origami here. Right on.
There you go.
Right on cue.
I said she's really into origami, right?
Is that her right there?
That's
How are you?
right.
So the question is, do you want to sit down and do origami, or do you want to sit down and do geometry? Because they're the exact same thing, right? It's just like which one's a little bit more engaging than the other. And and you don't have to steal the joy out of it by turning around and saying, go do your homework, because I promise you, she can sit down right now and have conversations about geometrical shapes, how to get them to fit together, how to create them, right? And then she may be lacking a little bit of vocabulary, but that's where our facilitators, that's where the people that are going to be working our summer experience are going to come in. And it's going to be like, okay, yeah, you're on a high rope. What are we learning there? Right? Well, we're learning a whole lot of different things. Now, how do we tie that in and give you a little bit more academic language to go along with that whenever you're having the conversation? So it's not, and I think I've said this every single time we've been on it, it's not a, hey, let's just throw it all out and just go have fun. But at the same time, let's not be afraid of fun. Let's not be afraid of enjoying something. And I mean, by all means, heaven forbid we actually enjoy to learn something. And we love to experience things together. You probably haven't, and I'll stop talking. I know I'm talking a lot on this one because this gets me going and gets me passionate, but you probably didn't care about origami until you saw your daughter smile, until you turned around and saw what she did with it. And then you've probably sat down from time to time and done some with her. And you may have never had that interest to begin with, but now y'all shared an experience together and you've learned together, you've connected together. And that's what learning is supposed to be about, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's something that I liked as a kid. And then there's different times I've kind of showed it to her and it's like something clicked this time. And then the part that was never I did it just as like a fidget, like it was a way to keep my fingers busy. And then for her, she's interested in like, how do you start a business and how like so she wants to learn that aspect of it. And so that's like a new way to share, because like we have some small business owners in the family who can share ideas and stuff, and and then we'll just see how far this goes, and but it's really exciting to see her get fired up about something. And she's curious about Japanese culture too. So there's like this like social studies aspect to it. And I mean, y'all know, like I talk a lot about parent power and, giving parents the tools so they make choices. But I really appreciate teachers. And I think it's like a superpower that teachers have to like always have new projects and new prompts and, all these like magical, colorful supplies. And so I think for if there are parents who are thinking like, okay, how do I, like I'm running out of ideas. It's like, well, for one thing, I mean, we have a lot of ideas on our site because folks like y'all have been writing guest posts for us for a year. But also like, get your kids interacting with these amazing teachers because they are full of ideas. This is what they do. This is what they live for. Like they have like a whole treasure chest of ideas that they want, and they just want kids in the building to play with.
Indeed.
Yeah. So let's see, Jeffrey, could you talk more about the sort of day in the life? Like you talked a little bit about it, like as far as the inquiry-based those sessions, like with the small groups. But are there sort of other aspects of like how the day is structured, or like how the different, like Justin mentioned that it's K through 12, so there's going to be kids of different ages in the program.
Yeah. Well, and so I'll answer that in two ways. First, I'll just say very simply the logistical structure of the program is Monday through Thursday, generally speaking, is when students are doing inquiry classes. Every day is, we start off with a community building activity, so the whole campus will participate. They'll go into an advisory and then the respective inquiry and classes. We do lunch together, same time, all three buildings, so that we can have more of that cross grade level pollination. And then we'll end the day with a community circle. So there'll be some activity that I will lead that's a little more social emotional learning explicit. The second part of how I'll answer that, and this is, I have to really brag about the organization I work for, is they truly care about the adult SEL piece as well. So families may hear this and think this is a really great opportunity for their children, and it is. One of the ways in which I think in building a quality program is this also has to be a great experience for the staff and the adults as well. And something that the public will not see is what happens, and I think is really truly the magical part at the end of every day, which is a staff debrief. that is where we really get an opportunity to talk about and reflect on the day, experiences, how we feel, what happened, share best practices. There's tons of research that supports that sort of flock model and leaning on each other and developing community even within our community of facilitators that truly helps build an even more quality program. And so they start the next day fresh, ready to go, excited and energized with more interventions that allows us to continue to build every day. So it's not even we'll come back next summer and it'll be better. It's every day we're going to be better versions of ourselves. So there is a real power in how this is structured. And I've done experiences for years now, and this model has been tremendous.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds really powerful. I'm like, I mean, for the facilitators, I'm sure they've been working very hard, and I'm sure there were times when they weren't able to carry out their vision the way they wanted to, because of the constraints of distance learning, and so like, I mean, that sounds like a great opportunity for them to bond and to learn from what they're doing, support each other, and it sounds like they're doing community building as well. Yeah.
They don't know it yet, but that's a great vulnerable time for us.
Well, I think that goes back to just our model, right? We're constantly in an inquiry model as adults. We're constantly, when your vision is to reimagine global education, that means you're constantly looking and learning. I try to stay away from negatives talk, but I'll address this. There will be somebody that is watching this that says, I don't know that I want my kindergartner working with a sixth grader, or I want my kindergartner working with a 12th grader. As I walked over to our elementary campus today, it was one of the beautiful things of watching one of our juniors on our student council sit down and reading with a 4th grade student, right? And they're there to support and help. And I encourage you that if you have not surrounded yourselves with students that are older than what your kids are, please know this: we all love to give back, and that's one of the big pieces of our service piece at Anne Frank. And our older kids love to be role models. Today, and it'll be up. I don't know if it's already up, Inga, but it'll be up. We had our senior day, and I talked about it a little bit earlier. But our elementary students, our middle school students, they lined up the sidewalk, right, and they cheered on. And our seniors really appreciated that. Our younger kids appreciated them. And it really created a good experience for them to be able to do that. So don't be worried about the ages, because it goes back again to kids have a wonderful way of connecting with each other.
Yeah. Well, it gives the young kids, role models, and it gives the older kids, like you said, it's a sense of service. It's a way to give back, and and just rebuild. I keep falling back into the negative talk of like all the stuff we missed, but it's more about like, I'm excited about things reopening and about these new opportunities that are presenting themselves. I guess as y'all are mentioning, I mean you guys take it for granted because you're there on that campus, but like for anyone who hasn't been to the Anne Frank campus, I just need to testify that it is a beautiful campus. Like the architecture is inspiring. There's lots of trees, big live oak trees. There's a tree house with a slide. I have gone down the slide. It's fast. And there's like big meeting rooms, like good acoustics, but and like the buildings, like there's pathways, but then like you feel like you're close to nature because there's water features and rocks and lots of like natural materials, natural surfaces. So if anyone had anybody who hasn't been to the campus, like go click around the website and you'll see pictures of. It's
that banner up right there. It says annefrankIA.com. You can go there. You can apply for both the school for next year. We are full at our elementary. We are full at our high school. We would love for you to go onto our wait list there. And then at our middle school, we have some 7th grade positions. But then you're also there. You can go in. You can apply. We're not trying to break the bank. I want to be honest, right? We're not trying to make money off of this summer experience. What we're trying to do is truly offer an experience for students to reconnect. So we are only charging our families $150 for a 3-week experience, right? Elementary, it's a 5-week experience because of things that we're doing there. But $150 for 3 weeks barely covers our experiences of going to an adventure course, going to SeaWorld, and then having a community picnic, right? It's barely going to cover our experiences there. And then for non-AFIA families, it's $400, which again, good luck finding some place that you're going to get 3 weeks for $400, right? So it's not about breaking the bank. This is truly just about making it to where kids can get back together, reconnect, and then belong, find joy, and be great.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've got the link up on the screen. It's annefrankia.com/summer. And that's how to register for the summer experience. They also, the link in the description of the video goes to the guest post, and that's got more information and links about how to apply. But yeah, it's an amazing bargain for like that much stuff and to include that many experiences, right? Like, yeah, like the adventure course and the field trips. And I mean, yeah, like there's a lot packed in.
And when we go to SeaWorld, we're going to SeaWorld to have fun. We 100% are, but we've also got a space rented for an hour to where we can come back and we can make sure that we're building community even while we're off of campus. So this isn't like, we want to get kids used to, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, learning can take place, and it doesn't have to be structured learning. Learning just takes place inside of experiences, and you're able to continue to build off of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just to echo some key points, the quote we started with at the beginning, learning is experience. So that's what kids will get from this camp is like lots of experiences, and they'll be able to form bonds, form community. It's not just throwing stuff at the wall. There's actually a process and some structure, but you're not afraid to have some fun.
We'll have a lot of fun. I promise you. I promise you that. I promise your kids that it is not school. You're not going to come. We're not going to trap you down. And we're intentional about not using the word camps, right? Because, camps designate a beginning and an end. Experiences can start at any point in time. And then we can continue that going. And so this won't be our only summer experience. Be looking for that word experiences to make it more into our vocabulary over the next couple of years.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do y'all have any closing thoughts? Just about Jeffrey, you want to chime in?
I don't think I can say it any better. Words matter. And, we even, one of the things we started talking about with the faculty already is we want to call our participants scholars, right? Because words matter. We want them to think of themselves as we're coming in to do some scholarly work. We are scholars. And so it's just changing mindsets. The experience, again, is more than in the beginning and end. It's a journey, it's a process. And more importantly, when I leave in 3 or 4 weeks or 5 weeks, I'm leaving with something internal. And there's no better gift we can give back than that experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. I'm so grateful for the guest post and for this chance to talk about summer experience, but also I believe it sheds light on the culture at Anne Frank. And, if there's families who, this is new to them, I'm going to pop up on screen. Here's the link to apply. So like Justin said, there's openings in 7th grade, and you all are keeping waiting lists for the other grades. So, and waiting lists move. So,
they do. And again, our model, just to kind of explain to people why we have that middle school, we have about 25 kids in 5th grade to 30 kids in 5th grade. And then when they go to 6th grade, we want that number to jump up to 50. So we have an internal recruitment that we have to do for our middle school, which is why we're constantly recruiting that middle school piece, is because we're building 5th graders, and then we're basically doubling that number for 6th grade. And so that's why that number is up. And then when we get to the high school, because we want to keep our school small, we want it to be where kids can connect. We want it to be where people can. And again, we've already gotten, I don't know if Mr. Moss even knows this, but we've already are up to 73, 75 participants that are already enrolled in our summer experience. We want to keep that number small, right? So if you're interested, go ahead and jump in there and get it done quickly. We're going to be open, I believe it's open until the 25th of May, 27th of May, somewhere around there. And so jump on there, Get registered because our spots are going to fill up quick, and kids are going to have a great time. And this is going to be something that's just going to snowball over the year.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this has been a great conversation. Thanks, guys. And I look forward to, be able to come and see the campus and meet people face to face. But in the meantime, I'm really grateful for virtual meetings and being able to share this with our online community.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.